Hello everybody, Ian Lee here, hope y'all are doing well. Today, in this video, I wanted to talk about practicing. What is practice? What do we practice? How do we practice? I think it's a question that if you want to continue to grow and change and learn and expand in music, that you end up asking yourself eventually. And it can take a lot of strange turns and dives, and you can go down some interesting rabbit holes. And now, of course, we have, in our modern world, we have the internet, so you can go on YouTube rabbit holes like this one, and you can go read articles and I've gotten into studies on neuroscience and the brain, and there's all this great information out there. So it's a big subject, and I won't pretend to, in making this video, that I've got some magic secret or I've got something figured out, but I did want to just talk about some of the things I've had experience with, and I think some wisdom from some people that have walked further down the path, and what they have to say. And I'll link to some of those things, some videos. The first one I want to talk about is actually Hal Galper. So he has a video called What is Practicing? And he's a piano player, he's a jazz pianist, wonderful teacher. And he talks about what is practicing. And he makes quite a few good points in there. And the first one that I want to talk about is that he says you should essentially go with what resonates with you. So he says, if I played you a John Coltrane solo, everybody in the room would react to different parts of that solo, or most people would react differently. So someone would say, well, that part really stands out to me. It really hits me in my core. Like, that's what turns me on. And he'd say, good, go practice that. Go learn that line. Learn how it ticks. Learn how it works. See what he was playing over. Was he playing over what kind of chord? How did these things function? What's the emotion of what he's trying to play? What's the feel of it? Get into all the nitty-gritty details of what that particular piece of music was and is, and figure out what that means for you, because that's the sign, that's the light on the path of where you need to be going and what you need to be doing. So there's what excites you, which may seem kind of obvious in a moment or in a statement, but the reality is that I don't think we always follow that excitement. I think at some point we start going, well, I need to do this, and I need to do this, and I need to do this. And there's truth to some of that. I mean, you have to step into what I heard a really great teacher call the humilitron, so you have to go be willing to be humble and be willing to, if you want to truly grow, kind of, always be a beginner at different aspects of your musicality and your musicianship, and be willing to go, well, I don't know that so well. I should go work on that. Okay. So there's that. And being willing to do technical things so that you can be better and more fluid at the instrument. So when you come to express yourself, those expressions are easily accessible. But there's a lot of stuff on technique out there, and y'all can watch all kinds of great stuff on that I don't need to expound on. So there's that facet and factor of practicing. So what excites you? He also talks about non-linear practicing in that video, in the sense that he says don't have a schedule, just kind of don't be bored, essentially. Go with what Now, I don't disagree with that as a whole, but I also think there's something to be said about having a plan for your practice, writing it out, saying I'm going to work on this for 10 minutes or 5 minutes, or I'm going to do this 5 times, or there's nothing wrong with that either. I think both have their place, and you have to learn to discern what is going to benefit you the most in the long haul, or at least for where you're at in the moment. Maybe not the big picture, but the short-term picture even. Just say, well, where am I at right now? Do I need more discipline? Do I need to be more free and loose with it? Do I need to be disciplined in a couple of areas? Say, this particular exercise, I should do it for a minute at 70 beats per minute, and then I'm going to go explore some ideas, right? So I think that's a cool point he brings up. I'm not saying I disagree with it, but there is a validity and truth in being willing and able to plan out your practice and say, well, here's what I need to work on. And that being said, that goes to my next point, which is you should practice what you're not great at or not good at or don't know at all. And that can also mean the stuff you already know, but coming at it in a different way and looking at it in a different light. So it's not just always about learning a new piece of information. Sometimes it's about grabbing a piece of information that you know and trying to understand it better, right? Trying to, like something recently, this may seem small, but to me it's kind of a big, recognition. So you can play through, your scales in 4-note chords. So if I were to play through A dominant 7, that's just a few of those, right? And I was thinking, well, what if I took those shapes out of context of the scale and just thought about, well, how are all the ways that I tend to finger a dominant 7 shape on the guitar? That's one, that's another. And that's going to be the same anywhere on the string set. So if I wanted to do that on C on the low E string starting, and now I know that. Now it's no longer just specific to that scale. I can think, oh, well, this is a generic shape and idea on the guitar. Blanked for a second. And for me, that was like my own little idea that came to me, and I said, okay, well, what if I started working on that? And didn't just practice these things in the context of the scale and where I was at in the position, but actually said, how does that feel? Right? How often do I and obviously I need to work on my right hand technique with my fingering by finger picking, right? So there's little things like that. So making sure that you're not just hitting the same thing. When I have students come to me, when I do my private lessons, one thing I especially see in adults who have been playing for a long time, maybe 20 plus years, they just kind of come to me and they go, yeah, I've just been doing for 20 years, and I've never really expanded. And that's something we can easily get caught in. And there's nothing wrong with knowing how to do really well, but at some point, if you want to grow as a musician, whatever that means, it can mean you just want to get a little better to jam with your friends. It can mean you want to be the next jazz giant of the world, the next classical player giant of the world, whatever that is. No dream is too big. It's all what you want to do with your life. But you have to sit down and start going, okay, well, where do I suck essentially? Where am I not so good? What can I work on? And you'll get to do that for a lifetime. So there's also no rush. Take your time in the way that you work with it. In that context of what to work on, where to go. If anybody's ever done The Artist Way or read that book by Julia Cameron, it's a great book. I highly recommend it for anybody who's a creative individual just looking to continue to expand and grow and change and open up some ideas in their life and in their world, in their mind, their heart. She has a kind of an affirmation, she calls it in the book, that says, as I create and listen, I will be led. Now, what I love about that is that you can also, as you continue to take steps forward, you'll be shown the next little light on the path. So it's almost like there's lampposts along this musical journey that we're taking. And one lights up at a time, and all the ones behind you are lit up. But you just have to kind of keep walking, and you're like, I have no idea where I'm going, and the next one lights up, and you're like, oh, I need to go over there for a little while, right? And there's lots of those. Like I was saying earlier, Hal Galper talks about listening. So an artist might be telling you, by the way you resonate, oh man, suddenly you're really resonating with Charlie Parker. Ooh, there's something Bird's got that I need to pay attention to. Maybe it's one line in one solo. He's telling me something about that. I should pay attention to that. Maybe Billie Holiday is speaking to you. Billie's trying to tell you something about the way you sing, the way you phrase, the way you feel. And these are some of those lights. And we just have to learn to pay attention because they're all over the place. The hints and the guidance is everywhere and anywhere you can imagine. You just have to be willing to look and be open. And again, be willing to be humble, to be excited, be joyful, be willing and able to do that work. And now let's go the opposite direction of that. So there's a great book called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. Again, I'll link to all these things, and I don't have like an Amazon where I get a kickback or anything. I just want you to have these books, and if you dig these ideas that I'm expounding upon. There's a book called The War of Art, and I swear I could read this book a page a day for the rest of my life, and I would probably be better for it. I mean, it's an incredible book. And Stephen Pressfield, in that book, he outlines what he calls resistance. So it's that energetic force that tells you, nah, don't worry about practicing, or I don't really want to, or, you know, I'm just not that good anyways, or whatever those things are that you're trying to figure out. Stephen Pressfield outlines these ideas, and he outlines resistance in particular. And he says, whatever you resist, the stronger it is, the more positive you can be that that's where your work is. And I love that, because now I use my fear, my resistance, my struggle, that thing where I'm kind of like, I don't want to do that, or nah, I'll put it off, or whatever. I use that as a guide to what I need to do the most, right? I've been wanting to do a YouTube channel for a long time now. I'm not even sure if it matters if anybody even watches it, but there's something in me that says you should give this a shot. And I have resistance towards it. So that tells me that I need to do it, right? These are things that you can use in your practice and in whatever you're trying to expand upon creatively, whatever that is. It could be anything. But these are the things that we can continue to look at. So we've got what makes us feel excited, also what we resist, right? Those are some of our little signposts. And then just diving in and doing the work, you know? Nothing beats that. Nothing beats just being willing to sit down and try. And in terms of kind of what excites you and turns you on, maybe it's a particular player. If it's not one of our long gone, dearly beloved musicians, it doesn't matter if it's, I don't know, if it's George Harrison of the Beatles, or Tom Petty, or if it's Charlie Parker. I don't care what genre you're playing or what music turns you on. There's also modern musicians alive, keeping these various things alive in terms of the lineage, the feel, the style of the music, and also expanding upon it. And a lot of these people are excited to teach and show you what they know. You'd be surprised. Some musicians, due to their fame and popularity, may be harder to get a hold of, obviously, or impossible. But man, there's so many players that I've really liked over the years. And I've been like, you know, I'm just going to email them and I'll go take a lesson, or maybe I'll take a round of lessons, you know, and they're so excited to share what they've learned and what they've worked on and to help you inspire, because they've been where you are. They know what it's like to be there and be like, what do I do? I feel stuck. I don't know what to do. And they can be like, hey, try this. I was there once. So there's a lot of options. So just be willing to go for it. I know I want you to be successful and continue to find your creative voice and the love and all the joy that comes from that and all the struggle that comes from it. It's a wonderful process. So anyways, best of luck out there, and I hope this video was helpful.